Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers, and if you're listening to this after listening to our last episode all about Nucky Johnson,
Nucky?
you will know...
No Nucky Thompson. It was Nucky Johnson.
It was Nucky Johnson, not Thompson, but you will know that we lied, and we said that this episode would be a smorgasbord and wrapping up the Prohibition era, but guess what?
We didn't lie. We didn't lie. We said the last episode was going to be a smorgasbord and all that, which it will be.
We did say we said this episode coming up would be the last episode, and it would be the smorgasbord.
Well, that episode will be the last one, but not yet.
Right. Yeah, because we just stumbled into some shit. Scouring the internet and actually found some little known people.
We went upstream after digging in the same spot for a couple months, and we found a lot of gold.
And it wasn't just fool's gold. But instead of ending the Prohibition series we're on right now, we are extending it with at least a few more episodes.
Right.
5 or 6, to be honest with you.
I would say.
So, last week was Nucky Johnson. You heard the true story all about the man behind the Nucky Thompson character in Boardwalk Empire on HBO. This week you're going to hear about the early outlaw, bank robber, bootlegger, and occasional pirate.
1,500 miles south.
Yes, we
of
are.
The United States.
From the early 1910s and 1920s.
We really don't hear too much about Florida or the southern states in the early 1900s.
Except for our one episode on Bill.
Who?
Bill McCoy.
He was in Florida?
He was a Florida man. Yeah, that's where he came from. Local Florida man.
Right.
He was from Florida.
Right. But still, what? So you got that one?
But this guy's going to be a little bit different. He did dabble a little bit in stealing rum and selling rum and all that stuff, but the majority of his time is in the Prohibition era, quote unquote. Right. But he is majority a bank robber and a pirate as well.
Our show arc is called Outlaws and Gunslingers.
This guy we're talking about was compared.
He is an outlaw
to the modern day Jesse James during his time. He was compared in the newspaper articles and everything. Is this 1920s Jesse James?
Ooh.
Well, this guy
is. We got a new Jesse James. It took how long?
We got
40 years.
We got a new Jesse James. His name is John Ashley.
Oh no.
He's a self-proclaimed king of the Everglades.
Everglades. Everybody knows Everglades.
Made millions from bank robberies and hijacking illegal alcohol. He's known in Florida as the greatest threat since the Seminole Wars to the state of Florida.
Wow.
And like I said, was often compared to Jesse James himself.
Jesse?
Well, the people of Florida saw him as a hero who fought against banks and the wealthy. If a major crime was committed in Florida during his active streak, it was blamed on him and his gang.
Why wouldn't it be, right? He's like the biggest.
Ooh. Wait till you guys hear his story, because it reminds me, when I was putting this together, it reminded me so much of all of our Wild West stories. Like this is a legit 1920s Wild West-esque story.
Is he the last outlaw?
No, because there's still outlaws
running
the streets to this day.
Outlaw, like what we got, last cowboy, I guess you would want to say. Is he the last cowboy, or what were they called back then? Not outlaws. There's a name.
Desperados. No,
the last desperado.
Yeah, but he's not like a Wild West guy. He's from fucking Florida.
Right. John Ashley was born in the backwoods along the It's a Caloosahatchee. The Caloosahatchee River in Buckingham.
Caloosahatchee.
Caloosahatchee. Caloosahatchee.
Caloosahatchee River.
Hee River.
Caloosahatchee.
The Caloosahatchee. Well, anyway, it's in Buckingham, Florida, near Fort Myers.
It is.
John Ashley was one of 9 children born to Joe Ashley, a poor Florida woodsman.
Yes.
Who made his living by fishing, hunting.
Just because this story is Wild West-esque doesn't mean you need to do your southern accent, man.
Right. Yeah. He made his living on fishing, hunting, and trapping others. Why would he trap others? What?
It clearly doesn't say others.
No, he trapped otters.
Otters.
Other otters.
He trapped otters and the other
other otters. Oh, gee willikers. Well, the Ashley family moved from Fort Myers to Pompano.
Pompano?
Papano, probably. Papano. Pompano.
Why don't we just spell out everything?
Right.
Pompanointhe 1890s WHEREJOEAND
1890s, you got to fucking spell 1890s.
1890S.
Like, what? Papano. The family moved from Fort Myers to Papano, Florida in the
it.
1890s, where Joe and his older sons worked on the new railroad being built by industrialist Henry Flagler.
Henry Flagler.
Joe moved his family to West Palm Beach in 1911.
Shit, West Palm Beach.
He briefly served as county sheriff there.
Okay.
And then John spent much of his youth in the Florida Everglades. He was, I'm like my father. My father's a great trapper, and he hunts alligators, and I do the same.
He taught me everything I know.
Everything I know.
I don't know why I'm doing the damn Southern accent now, too, damn it. On December 29, 1911.
When?
December 29, 1911. A dredging crew working near Lake Okeechobee discovered the body of Seminole trapper DeSoto Tiger.
Right.
Well, John Ashley soon came under suspicion for this moida. According to fellow Seminole Jimmy Gopher, John had been last seen with DeSoto in a canoe filled with otter hides to sell at the market.
Yes.
Well, Miami fur traders, the Gertman brothers, told cops that John had sold him the hides for $1,200.
Damn.
And just the day before, he had been arrested in West Palm Beach on a charge of recklessly displaying firearms.
Oh, he's like, look at these.
So they got first-hand accounts of him being in the canoe with DeSoto, and he was arrested just a day prior being seen with DeSoto with firearms.
Brandishing firearms in city limits.
Right. Well, two deputies, S.A. Barfield and Bob Hannon, found Ashley camping in a palmetto thicket near Hobie Sound and attempted to take him into custody. However, they were surprised by his brother Bobby.
Hey,
and
Bobby.
were disarmed at gunpoint.
Hey, I mean, what you got to do, right?
John then sent the officers back with a message for Sheriff George B. Baker to not send any more chicken-hearted men with rifles or they are apt to get hurt.
This seriously reminds me
This is a fucking Wild West episode.
I'm picturing in my mind a dusty old town, and these guys are standing between buildings with the sheriff in front of them, telling them.
Cowboy hats, spurs,
right,
horses.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you, this is a 1920s Wild West story.
I love it. I mean, do we need to find Wild West stories in like Florida and Georgia and shit? I bet there are.
I mean, I'm sure there are, but are they? It wouldn't be Wild West though.
Cowboy's a cowboy. No
they
matter
wouldn't be
where
Wild
you're
West. They'd be Wild Southeast.
the somewhat tamed Southeast.
Right.
Not so wild.
Not so wild.
I bet it was the same though.
Yes. Well, I don't know because the East was all industrialized by that point when the Wild West. There's a point that's why everybody was moving west to develop.
Right.
So the East was already
still
established.
got the small towns like we do now.
Obviously.
Right. Well, in his trial for the murder of DeSoto Tiger in the year of 1910, despite overwhelming evidence, Ashley was not convicted.
Not convicted. You guessed it.
The Seminole Nation was pissed as hell over the murder, and the feds threatened to intervene. John Ashley, he was like, I got to go. Where are you going to go? Down to New Orleans.
I'm going down to New Orleans. I have a couple friends of mine.
How long you been gone? Just for a couple years.
New Orleans, my friend,
right. Well, anyway.
A jambalaya and a crawfish, and it's gonna get my way.
Right. Well, John Ashley fled to New Orleans. He fled to New Orleans for a couple years before returning to Florida in about 1914.
Ooh, 1914.
During this time away, he might have worked as a logger.
He may have. Nobody knows.
In the city of Seattle.
That's a long way away from home. That's literally from one corner of the country all the way up to the next
Thinking
corner.
how many trees he passed to go all the way to Seattle to do the same job that he could have done in.
Well, I mean, Seattle's prime fucking logging country, even to this day.
Right.
Well, in that area, anyways.
Right. And after he went to Seattle, there was later claims that he had robbed a bank in Canada.
I mean, that's wouldn't be too far-fetched since Seattle's right there. It's a hop, skip away from Vancouver and all that little territory over there.
He finally returned to Florida, and when he did that, he immediately surrendered to the West Palm Beach authorities, where he was in jail until his very trial.
Oh, no. Well, John was
Why would he go back to Florida? I don't get it.
He was a little homesick.
Right.
John was hoping, though, that the jury in his hometown would be on his side.
Obviously not.
Well, however, the prosecution petitioned for a change of venue to go to Miami.
The prosecution petitioned for the change.
However, the prosecution petitioned for a change of venue. They went to Miami and they couldn't seem to venue. Yeah, prosecution petition for a change
Hey.
of venue in Miami instead.
Miami? Welcome to Miami.
Well, when old Johnny Boy heard about this, he decided he couldn't
Hey,
stay in jail
oh,
anymore.
Johnny Boy.
So guess what he had to do?
What do you got to do?
He had to escape.
Oh,
Well,
I should have guessed that.
According to accounts, he was being escorted to a cell by Sheriff Baker's son, Robert C. Baker,
Okay.
when he suddenly broke away,
How?
ran out an unlocked door, and climbed a 10-foot fence to freedom.
Motherfucker, when is there an unlocked door in the jailhouse? And they had to put that in there, an unlocked door
Unlocked door?
in the jailhouse.
Well,
I
clearly,
get it.
clearly he escaped and climbed a 10-foot fence to freedom. I don't know why.
It was 1910?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Right. After this, John and his brother Bob started the Ashley Gang. They started doing
Fitting
robberies.
name since it's their last name, you know.
Right. They started doing a lot of robberies.
Yes, they did.
The very first robbery was of an FEC passenger train,
Mm-hmm.
accompanied by Chicago mobster Kid Lowe.
Damn, they even got mob help over there.
This didn't go very well. Turns out they could not agree on who should rob the passengers and who should rob the mail. Are you fucking serious?
No, I want to rob the passengers. You get the mail. Now, I ain't
No.
searching through all that damn
No,
mail.
I'm
You
so
go rob the
bored of that
mail. I'll
shit.
go rob the passengers.
You know how much fun it is robbing passengers?
Yeah, man, I know. They're so scared and they pee themselves
Right.
sometimes.
The mob cart, I mean, the mail cart can be so fucking easy.
Right. I mean, all you got to do
Like
is
what, 2 people?
get the safe.
Right, 2 people?
Right.
Simple.
Well, later in 1915, they committed a dangerous daytime robbery
Dangerous.
of a bank in Stuart, Florida.
Hey.
They came away with $45,000 in cash and silver, but didn't go so well for John.
Oh, no. What happened to John?
Well, during their getaway, Lowe shot him in the jaw on
What?
accident, which would cost him his eyesight in his left eye.
oh,
And
my.
he was forced to wear a glass eye for the rest of his life.
Wait, so he shot him in his jaw,
Yes, the
and the bone from his jaw got into his
the
eye.
Chicago mobster shot him in his jaw, and the damage was so severe that it cost him his eyesight in his left eye, which he had to wear a glass eye for the rest of his life.
Oh, shit.
A bullet ricocheted off of a car window
What?
and then hit John in the jaw. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, John tried to go get treated for his wound, but was captured and thrown into Dade County Jail to stand
Oh.
trial for the DeSoto Tiger murder.
Oh, no.
The state's attorney had a different idea and thought they would have a better chance of convicting him on the bank robbery instead.
Yeah,
So a la
So they
a la
said,
El
we're not
Capone
gonna-
there, right?
We're not going to try to get him for that because there's too many holes.
Imagine we just discussed that the Seminoles raised hell over him being
Right.
let off for the crime of DeSoto murder, and now they're
Right.
gonna not pursue the DeSoto murder and get the bank robbery
But I don't
instead.
understand still. He was already acquitted of that, so you can't charge a guy twice.
It was a mistrial.
Either way.
You could charge a mistrial twice.
A mistrial?
Yes,
Maybe.
mistrials can be if there's new evidence going forward. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Plus, this is 1920s.
I don't think so.
Plus, this is the 1920s.
I don't know. 2nd of June, 1915, Bob Ashley decided he was going to break his brother out of jail.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I can't have Johnny Boy in there. He's
Right.
got a fucking broken jaw and shit.
Right. He entered the jail
from a
and shot
bullet.
Deputy Wilbur W. Hendrickson at point blank range. He took his cell keys.
He did.
But however, he dropped the cell keys and left them when he saw that Hendrickson's wife had a rifle.
He's like, oh shit, this
He's
bitch
like,
about to shoot
"Oh."
me.
He had a getaway car waiting at a nearby garage. But when he got there, he found that he didn't know how to drive it. Oh, no.
How do you wait? So my assumption there is it must have been a stick, right?
They're all sticks back then, bud.
So how didn't he know how to drive it?
I don't think he ever know how to drive.
No.
He didn't know how to drive. He was fighting on the assumption there'd be somebody there. They said there'd be a car there, which means somebody's going to be behind the wheel, right?
If I'm being honest,
You're going to have a wheelman.
if I'm being honest,
Right?
the
You're gonna have a
actual
wheelman.
the actual article I got this from said that he didn't know how to drive that particular model. So it had to have been like a stick shift or
They're
something.
all stick shifts.
No,
but-
in the 20s they came automatic.
I don't know about
Yes,
that.
they did.
1904.
1904. Yeah, so they were
That's
around.
the first true, but the first true one was introduced in
The
1939.
General Motors Hydromatic
Was
3-speed
1939.
hydraulic 1939.
1939. And this is when? So, yeah, maybe. No, it wasn't even then yet. So, no, everything was...
Oh, it was that particular model, so maybe
Everything
that
was
particular
manual.
model had automatic.
Mm-mm.
Well, it wouldn't be because
Wouldn't be automatic.
like you don't know how to drive an automatic, you just fucking get it and go, right?
Wouldn't be automatic. Maybe they had different fucking... no, he didn't know how to start it.
Maybe the
Somewhere.
gearbox is weird or something. Either or, he didn't know how to drive the fucking model that the getaway car was
Right. And where you
for
went.
whatever reason.
He then attempted to force several men to drive the car. They all claim... They're like...
Mister,
I
I don't know how
don't-
to drive this either.
If you don't know how to drive it, I sure damn well don't know how to drive this son of a bitch.
He's like, you lying motherfucker.
All right. He's like, you son of a bitch, drive this, I'll kill you. He's like, sir, I cannot drive it. Well, then Bob saw that a truck was passing and he jumped on its running board and forced the driver, T.H. Duckett was his name, to drive him out of town.
Well, unfortunately for old Bobby Boy, Deputy J.R. Riblett spotted him and went after him. The truck's... Well, he spotted him probably on
the side of it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, the truck suddenly stalled in the street, and a shootout occurred, resulting in the death of both Bob Ashley and Deputy Riblett.
So Bob got hit.
Bob's done.
And then Deputy Riblett done.
They, killed each other.
Right.
Thousands of Miami residents were pissed at what Bob did, and they threatened to break into the jail to lynch John.
Oh, no.
Well, they cooled down after the police decided to parade Bob's body through the streets.
Oh, how about this?
Which is a real fucking story.
Right.
They literally... The mob was about to break into jail, and then the police was like, "Well, why don't we parade this dead body of the guy that committed the crimes through the streets to satisfy your needs?"
Right, to show everybody that we killed this bitch that killed this other guy that we love.
And literally, the crowd was like, "All right, that works."
Basically, yeah.
The crowd's like, "All right."
You see that? They killed the other guy, but look at they fucking got him.
And then the local saloon guy's like, drinks are half off for the next half hour, and they're like, woo!
Sluts 10%.
Pussy,
yeah. Pussy 10% off. Drinks 50.
Oh,
that's how you do it.
Just parading a dead guy through the street. Imagine they did that nowadays.
Well, they do.
But like, hey, this cop killer, that wouldn't work out well with it, and nowadays. But hey, this terror. Imagine if they paraded the body of the
Bin Laden or Sammy Hussein
or Sammy.
What's his name?
Saddam.
Yeah.
Imagine what they did through the streets of Iraq and shit.
They didn't do it in the United States. They should have.
Of course they wouldn't. But imagine if they got the guy that did the Boston Marathon bombing.
They did.
But paraded him through the streets the next day.
After they murdered him?
His own brother murdered him. Well, the cop shot him, and then his brother ran him over.
Timothy McVeigh?
No, I said the Boston Marathon bombers. Djokovic and Sarnanoff, or whatever the fuck their name was. One of them got ran over by his own brother.
Right.
And then, imagine if they paraded that guy through the streets, though. Well, hey, look what we did. Hey, that would be like...
The crowd would love it, actually.
Especially
the crowd would fucking line up on each side of the street and they would fucking cheer. You know they fucking
especially
would.
Fucking Boston.
You know they fucking would.
Boston would be at the top of their game.
You know they fucking would. Dude.
Fuck yeah, they would.
Yeah, you know they would.
But imagine how that would be portrayed in the news. Is what I'm saying.
It'd be portrayed as fucking killer got caught.
Yeah, but not nowadays. With the liberals, they'd be like, "Look at this injustice."
Right, and that. Pedophiles ain't pedophiles. They have a sickness.
Right.
No, fuck
it's
you.
It's a mental illness.
Right, it's okay.
We should cover that. We should cover that under insurance and whatever.
We should not say that they're wrong for doing it.
It's not the show for that.
We should support
It's not the show for that. Let's continue Bob Ashley or John Ashley's story. If you guys want to hear real life stuff like that, go to the Bang and Dang Show podcast. That's where we do all that
part of the show.
Of course it is. Gotta promote.
Feeling guilty about shooting John, Kid Lowe sent a letter to Dade County Sheriff Dan Hardy.
He did.
Dear sir, we were in your city at the time one of our gang, young Bob Ashley, was brutally shot to death by your officers. And now your town can expect to feel the result of it any hour.
Ooh, any hour.
And if John Ashley is not fairly dealt with and given a fair trial and turned loose simply for the life of a GD Seminole Indian, we expect to shoot up the whole GD town regardless of what the results might be. So remember that. We expect to make our appearance at an early date.
Quote, unquote.
Quote, unquote. However.
Yeah.
The attack never happened.
Oh, man. What a bluffer.
And the trial moved forward.
What a bluffer. They called his bluff, didn't they?
Right. John pled guilty to the robbery on November 23rd, 1916. Sentence, 17 years. In a Radford State Penitentiary.
Ooh, well, prior to his arrest, John began a relationship with Laura Upthegrove.
Who?
Laura Upthegrove.
Upthegrove.
Who acted as the gang's lookout.
That's a highlighted name. She must be somebody.
Well, she's from him, yes. Laura Upthegrove was gang's lookout at first. If she heard that the police were near one of his hideouts, she would drive her car through secret back roads.
Okay.
And warn the gang.
So she's a trusted source.
Well, she also cased banks and served as a getaway driver.
Of course she did.
When she was together with John at this time, she became known as the Queen of the Everglades.
Damn
Obviously,
right.
if he was the king,
Bonnie
she
and
was the
Clyde,
queen, right?
Bonnie and Clyde,
And
right
she took
here.
a major role in the gang while Ashley was in prison. So
Obviously
basically,
she
she
did.
was like, "Baby, I'm running stuff for you."
Right, they're fucking each other, and right,
Mhm.
he was
And
the
this
boss.
is a picture of John Ashley on the right
Nice.
in a white suit with prison officials preparing to enter the Florida State Prison in Rayford.
Oh shit!
Look at they're all smiling and
Right.
stuff, and this dude's taking a picture with them like they're at a party or something. What the
Right.
hell is this? Look, he's got a bow tie on.
Right.
He must be in his like court suit or something.
Whatever it was.
Oh, that's a little jacket because look how much room between the
Right.
cuff and his
Yeah, it wasn't
his
his.
wrist.
It's not his.
Right.
Right.
Mm.
Like, don't you got anything? Let me put something
That's all I
on.
got, man.
That's all I
This is
got.
from my dad. This is
Right.
from my dad, Joe, and he was a little shorter than I was. Sorry.
While John was in prison, he was a model prisoner for about 2 years.
Of course. I mean, why not?
And then he was like, "It's time to go."
Right. He's like,
Right.
I
Right.
and I gotta get out of here.
He's like, "I done good
Gonna
for 2
make
years.
my escape.
You're smart. Do it for a little while. 2 years is long.
Right.
A long time.
Gain
right?
the trust.
Right, a
Gain
long
the
time.
Trust
Like,
of,
all right.
Gain the trust of the prison and
Right.
the guards and all that good
Right.
stuff. Why not?
Well, he got out of there
He did.
with the help of fellow bank robber Tom Maddox.
Mm-hmm.
He escaped a road camp on the 31st of March in 1918.
1918.
Year 1920. Sheriff George Baker's son, Robert, was appointed sheriff after George died and continued where his father left off.
Ooh,
So he was
and-
like, all right, he's like, I'm not
And-
giving up.
and
My
before this
daddy
story-
had a plan, and I'm
I was
finishing
gonna
it.
say, before this story goes any further, the son of George, Robert, he hated fucking
Right,
John even more.
all right. Daddy had a plan, and I'm finishing it.
Daddy.
Right.
No, daddy.
When Prohibition started him and the gang began moonshining, but that came to an end for John as he was recaptured in June of the year of 1921.
Mm-hmm.
However, the gang continued to operate stills in the woods of Central Florida and soon began hijacking rum runners. So they're like, all right, we're gonna try to make as much as we can, but we're gonna rob as much as we can
His
as well.
daddy, Joe Ashley, was a part of the Ashley gang, obviously.
Right.
And before Prohibition and whatever,
Right.
his dad had multiple stills in the backwoods and all that shit already. So they had already a system set up
Right.
before
So
Prohibition even started. So
Basically,
so now they had all their stills in the backwoods where it was hard to reach. They were set up.
so is the real guy Joe Ashley? Probably.
No, just the daddy.
No, he's the real man. He's
Oh,
the boss.
well, we'll see.
He's the boss man.
Nah, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
Well, let's just continue John's story because there's a reason why John has a story and not Joe.
Oh, no, his daddy Joe.
Well, his daddy don't have a story like Johnny.
Right, his daddy Joe. Joe Ashley had several stills in Palm Beach County.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy had probably most of them.
Like I just said.
Right. When they say several, that means pretty much all of them.
Like I just said, right.
So he had all these stills while John's brother Ed and Frank Ashley ran liquor from the Bahamas to Jupiter Inlet and Stewart.
Florida.
While John Ashley was still in jail, his brothers disappeared. While on a return voyage from a Bahama island called Bimini in the month of October in the year of 1921.
You know what's crazy? While he was still in jail, he sent his father Joe a letter and was
What?
like, "I had a terrible dream, Daddy, that who's his brother's names? Ed and Frank got killed by a fellow
What, that was the one? That was the letter? I remember that letter.
Well, the letter he sent his dad. He was like, I had a dream that Ed and Frank were killed by rival bootleggers, and he said the name of them. He was like, I know who it was. And then like a couple days later, his dad visited him and told him that they didn't return. So
From the same bootleggers? From the same?
well, nobody knows what happened to him, but he had the dream supposedly that they got killed
Oh, shit.
by the other bootleggers.
Right.
And then a couple days
Right.
later, his dad visited him in jail and said, "Hey, man, your brothers never returned from their
Right.
return voyage." So that's kind of
Right.
freaky, huh?
Right.
Well,
Mm.
as for Johnny Boy, he escaped for the third and final time, but nobody knows how. This is a mystery
How the
here.
fuck you do that?
Well, he was reported to be in a cell 1 minute, and the next minute he quote unquote vanished from his cell.
He was a magician?
Still nobody knows, but he went on back with the gang to bank rob him with the boys.
How do they know that? How do they know that?
Because it's documented.
How would they know that?
It's documented.
But how do they know?
Because he got, well, you'll see. He went back to bank robbing with the boys after he vanished from his cell, quote unquote. The gang managed to rob the Stewart Bank a second time in September
So they went back to
1923.
Stewart. I mean, come on. They're toying with these guys.
Well, the first bank robbery that didn't go so well,
What was that?
where he got shot in the jaw,
Oh, it's the first
Remember?
time? Yeah, he got shot in jaw.
Well, they robbed it a second
They
time.
went back to that one? Oh,
Yep,
no.
Same bank, September 1923, after Ashley's teenage nephew, Hanford Mobley, snuck into the building disguised as a woman and escaped with several $1,000s.
Oh.
So that's a good robbery there, huh? Nothing happened there.
Right. Month of November, 1923. The gang robbed $23,000 in cash and securities from a bank in Pompano.
And securities.
The gang then wrapped their loot in a bedsheet and drove through town in a stolen taxi.
These fucking guys.
Waving a bottle of whiskey, yelling, "We got it all!
Oh, boys!
You
We got it all!
You stupid bastards!
You
I
idiots!"
told you!" Right. They got to the edge of town and disappeared into the swamp.
Oh, man.
John left a bullet at the bank and told them to give it to Sheriff Baker if he ever got out of the Glades.
Quote unquote. You ever feel like you got to come down here and search for us? This is the bullet for you,
Right,
baby.
he already knows. Give this to Sheriff Baker. He'll know who it came from.
You know exactly who it came
And
from.
tell him what I said.
Well, John also started to rob rum runners in South Florida, and many prevented this by paying him protection money.
What did he do? He started to
rob the rum runners that were in South Florida.
He started to rob the rum runners.
And then many of them were like, how about I just pay you protection money and we keep our stuff and we go on and sell our stuff.
Right.
Well, he and his nephew Hanford Mobley stole a ski skiff in 1924 and went on a raid of rum runners in the Bahamas West End, and it ended up with $8,000 from 4 liquor warehouses. Well, Unfortunately for him, though, he missed out on a big score that day, as just a couple hours beforehand, a boat carrying $250,000 had left for Nassau, right from the Bahamas port right there.
The gang was so feared by other bootleggers in the area.
Yes, they were.
That they found different routes that were nowhere near the gang, so they were safe. They're like, no, these guys are gonna be like all through here, so we got to go.
We know they're gonna
circle around.
Yeah, we're gonna have to literally add
right
800 miles to our fucking nautical miles.
Why can't we just
to our
go
trip?
through and deal with these bastards? You don't want to do.
Have you seen what they did?
Right. This resulted in opportunities to rob rum runners to disappear. Couldn't do it.
Yep.
And the gang went back to robbing banks.
So there you have it, folks. That is the only prohibition stuff of John's story. Right.
We're like,
there.
well, that worked out for a minute, but they smarten up, and we're not chasing those bastards all the way out there.
Right. There's no use for doing that.
Let's go back to banks. They don't move.
And they always have money.
Right. By this time, John was in his personal feud with Sheriff Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He was like, fuck this Baker guy. He's like, I got a vendetta to fucking...
that's the son, by the way, Robert Baker.
Right. The day before the Bahamas raid, Sheriff Baker got a tip from a car salesman that the raid was going down and set a trap for John. He's like, I'm going to set this trap for John. I know this raid's going down.
Mm-hmm.
I was told by this car salesman. He suspected that the law might be on his side. And, John suspected that the law might be on him. Mm-hmm. And he switched up his route at the last minute to avoid capture.
And the raid was successful, as we just noted.
Right.
Baker would spend the next few months searching for John in the Everglades, but was unsuccessful, partly thanks to the Florida
Crackers.
Florida
Crackers. Everybody knows Florida Crackers.
Who are like poor white people around the area.
Right.
Known as
they ain't telling you
Florida
shit.
Crackers.
Right. There's some
gator
eating, fucking lizard eating motherfuckers.
Right. And a quote unquote grapevine telegraph of the Glades. So all the people in the Everglades were literally looking out for John and sending a message that this guy's looking for you. You better stay away. This guy's looking for you. He's here now.
Right.
You better go here. He had a whole network of loyal citizens.
I get it.
You can't deal with anybody when they have loyal citizens on their side. It's
every horror movie in the fucking backwoods.
Right.
To today.
Well, Baker finally got a lead in early 1924 that John was staying in a cabin with family in the swamp about 2 miles south of the Ashley family home.
How they get that? They got that off a weak townsman?
He got a lead somehow. Well, with the short bushes and palmetto scrub surrounding the cabin, the police couldn't reach the hideout, so it was the perfect hideout.
Right.
Hey, police ain't coming back here with boats. Number one, they have to come back here on foot, and by then we're gonna spot them.
Right.
Well, Baker wanted to capture John come hell or high water, so he got weapons from the Florida National Guard and deputized several citizens.
Oh, no.
On January 10th, 1924, he sent 8 of his deputies to the house early in the morning, where they were in place by dawn, and they had a plan. He said, we're just going to wait here. He's got to come out to get food and supplies, right?
Sooner or later.
We're going to wait here in this swampy-ass, gator-infested swamps, and we're going to wait here until he has to leave to go get supplies.
Outside of his house, right?
Right.
The deputies were about to make their move, but a dog started barking.
Oh, of course they're going to have a dog.
One of the deputies shot the dog.
No, shot at the dog.
Right. One of the deputies shot at the dog, which made John shoot back, and he ended up killing the sheriff's cousin, Fred Baker.
Oh, no. He killed the fucking sheriff's cousin?
Mm.
Oh, Freddie? No, not Freddie!
John Ashley's father, Joe,
Uh-oh.
was murdered
Yes, he was.
in his bunk,
He was just sitting in his bunk.
and his partner, Albert Miller, and Laura were seriously wounded by buckshot from the deputy shotgun from the ricochet, basically. Boom, 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 boom. John had no choice but to leave his wife, and he escaped through a secret passage. You had no choice. You did have a choice. You coward.
I don't know. He's either going to jail or his wife's dying.
Right. They ain't going to kill his wife, right? So he can just get out. So he saved his wife. Aided by his wife's screams, what caused the police to stop firing, right?
So his wife's screaming in agony. She's like, no!
Right.
The deputies are like, I don't know what to do now.
A 200-man manhunt was underway, with both Joe Ashley and Anford Mobley's homes being burned to the ground.
Damn.
Despite this,
Uh-oh.
John stayed in the area with hopes of breaking his wife out of custody and avenging his dad.
Okay.
However, time went by, and the heat's still on him. He headed for California to lay low.
Okay, well,
he's like, shit ain't boiling
ain't
down.
changing. They got like, I'm sure they had like a brigade of policemen at the
Every
jail
time.
where this wife was held.
Right, every day.
Ain't nothing happening
He was like,
right
oh,
now.
shit.
He's like, all right. Well, after a while in California, he returned to Florida and spent a few months planning his revenge.
All right, because he knew, okay, it's been a while. So I go back and go a couple counties south or north.
Well, he's got a plan here because on November 1st, 1924, John mapped it out and was planning to kill Sheriff Baker at the Jacksonville courthouse following his election.
Okay.
So he's got to be on the steps when he's coming out for election, right?
Right.
Well, Baker received a tip, which is believed to be from a gang member's girlfriend or perhaps from a disgruntled brother-in-law.
What?
That said John would come up the coast on the Dixie Highway to rob a bank in Jacksonville.
Anybody. He shouldn't have talked to nobody.
Well, Sheriff Baker knows he's about to rob a bank and coming up on the coast in Jacksonville. Baker arranged an ambush at the bridge over the St. Sebastian River at Roseland, which blocked the road with a chain with a red lantern across the bridge.
What? Okay.
So, a chain had a red lantern hanging off, said basically stop, right? Red is stop.
Right. Well, this very bridge was out of his jurisdiction.
Baker's jurisdiction, yes.
So the operation was overseen by Sheriff J.R. Merritt of St. Lucie County, along with his 3 deputies.
3 deputies.
1 hour later.
1 hour later.
John was spotted in his car. He came up on the chained-off bridge and was forced to stop. The official version states that the deputies came up from behind and forced everyone out of the car.
Okay, which sounds likely.
They lined up the men beside the car and searched it and found guns.
Okay.
Well, just then,
Uh-oh.
John Ashley pulled a gun, and the deputies immediately started shooting, killing John and his 3 partners. That's what the original statement says.
There goes Johnny Boy, either or.
Right.
But there are at least the 2 other versions of what actually happened. In the first one, 2 witnesses stated they saw the deputies approach the car, and when the officers ordered them to leave the scene, meaning the guys who were the witnesses, they said that John and his men were in handcuffs at the time. The police denied this, despite there being marks on the men consistent that are left by handcuffs. But they say that is from the coroner examining the bodies. The coroner's jury agreed with that explanation that the police gave. So there's marks on these guys' wrists, consistent with being in handcuffs. There's witnesses that say that these guys were in handcuffs, but the coroner's jury agreed with the explanation that why would there be marks on the wrist from the coroner examining the bodies? What was he doing? Tying the arms up and right? I mean, that sounds like
and if you're tying the arms
that
up,
sounds
you
stupid.
You have to do it pretty tight and pretty fucking aggressive.
To make marks that are still there.
Right.
I mean, come on. Well, there is one other theory, though.
These guys were executed.
There's one other theory.
Okay, what is it? Well, the other theory was presented in 1996, and it was a book called Florida's Ashley Gang by Ada Coates Williams.
Okay.
Well, the book is thought to be closer to what actually happened.
All right. So there's a consensus here, at least.
1950s, an unidentified deputy told her that John was cuffed and made a sudden move forward, and the deputies opened fire, which makes sense. He made her promise to not release this information until all the deputies involved had been dead. They passed away, gone.
Right, died, gone.
Right. However, when the incident took place, most of the poor crackers thought John was executed by the cops as a form of frontier's justice.
Obviously.
Like, hey, guess what? This is what happened, bitches. Right?
That's probably what happened. They were in handcuffs,
Right.
And then John
Yes,
probably.
and all
John
the
probably
the crowd's
did.
there, and everybody's like,
Well, no, there's no crowd because those other guys left.
Right.
And then, but John probably lunged forward and did something stupid, and the fucking sheriff's opened fire.
That's what they needed.
I don't think it was an outright.
That's all they needed.
I don't think it was an outright
murder. I think it was a murder.
Execution, though.
They're just waiting. Waiting.
Because
why would they?
It's not like he was shot in the back of the head.
Don't matter.
It's not like he was shot in the back of the head.
Back then, a dude's in handcuffs. They're not going to shoot you.
Are you serious?
No, you're in
Of course
handcuffs.
they would.
What are you going to do to the
He
guy?
lunged forward towards him.
So
and they probably
what?
were like, this guy's a dangerous motherfucker. He's already killed deputies and done all the.
He's got his
You got to
handcuffs
remember.
on his back.
You got to remember.
He's got his handcuffs
But you got to
on his
remember,
back.
this guy's escaped jail 3 times. Already, he's the Jesse James of fucking the 20s.
Right,
That's
but he's got
exactly why he's the Jesse James.
But he's got his handcuff behind his back and like at least 3 officers surrounding him.
Wasn't it in the Jesse James story where Jesse James escaped all sorts of jails?
He wasn't handcuffed like that.
Well, no, not when he died, but he escaped jails just like Jesse James did, right?
Right.
So
I'm
yeah,
saying.
so this guy's already got this reputation, and now he's already killed a couple of deputies. He's already done a lot of stuff along the law.
Yeah.
And then now he's lunging towards somebody. He's lunging. It doesn't matter. He's lunging towards somebody.
With his hands behind his back tied.
But does that mean it's 1920s?
There's 3 cops standing
It's
there.
the 1920s.
It don't matter.
It's the 1920s.
There's nobody but 3 cops and him standing there. You're going to tell me that a guy with his hand tied behind his back and he lunged towards one other person that the other 2 guys can't easily grab him?
Of course they could.
Come on.
Of course they could, but what's easier?
on.
What's easier, grabbing him and fighting with him or shooting him?
And you can either shoot the cop, too.
How? He didn't have a gun.
If he's going to be lunging towards him, he's going to be next to the cop, so you got to wait. Why don't you just grab the motherfucking guy?
Well, after her husband's death, Laura Upthegrove, that's a fake name if I've ever heard one,
Right.
lived under another fake name in Western Florida for a
I
time.
don't even know if this is legit.
In the next 2 years, she was arrested on several occasions before eventually opening a gas station in Canal Point on Lake Okeechobee.
Canal Point, Lake Okeechobee. She
later moved in with her mother in the Upthegrove Beach. So
Whoa,
apparently
wait a
they
minute.
had a
She has
private.
her own.
So the family has their own beach called Upthegrove Beach. On August 6, 1927, she died during an argument with a man trying to buy moonshine from her.
Oh no, what happened?
He tried to claim that she was selling him some bullshit.
Oh,
She
no.
chased him out of the store, came back into her store, and in the heated moment thought she was chugging a bottle of whiskey. It turned out to be a bottle of disinfectant.
What,
which
she was?
Yeah.
Why was she?
Because she was selling the moonshine to him. And he was claiming that the moonshine was trash, and she chased him out of the store. And in a frenzy, she's all worked up. She thought she was grabbing a bottle of whiskey and said it was a bottle of Lysol.
Oh no!
And drank it down, literally chugged it, and within
Why would
minutes,
she do that?
within minutes, was on the floor in convulsions and
Why
died.
would she do that?
Well, it's unclear whether it was an accident, as some claim she mistook it for a bottle of gin, but it was widely reported that she had committed suicide. She was 30 years old at the time.
I don't know. Something's fishy about this
That's
here.
the thing.
No.
There's a couple of stories that I read.
She's been around her whole life.
But there's a couple of stories that I read.
She's not gonna
she
grab
chased him out.
She's not gonna grab a bottle
Well,
of
she
fucking.
chased him out.
No.
Was all
I don't
worked
give a
up.
fuck. I
She
don't
worked.
care.
She
I
was
don't
all
care.
worked up in a frenzy.
Nope, I don't
grabbed
believe
the
it.
nearest bottle and
No.
chugged it accidentally.
No, I don't believe that.
That's highly plausible.
No, not
You're
at
an
all.
idiot.
Not at
You're
all.
an idiot.
Nah, she's been around this her whole life. She
You're an
knows
idiot.
exactly what is what.
Well, Lysol back in the day was in a glass bottle, just like a whiskey bottle
Yeah,
would be.
and she's been doing it all
What
her
do you mean?
life. She
What do
knows
you
it-
mean?
She knows exactly what is what. She ain't fucking mistaking nothing for nothing. It's her own fucking store. She knows where everything's at. She grabs something she knows damn well
So
what
what are
it is.
you trying to claim she was killed?
I think so.
Well, that's another story for another day because it doesn't matter. We're just saying what happened to John's wife after he died. Okay, it's not worth looking into that much.
We're not gonna look into it.
It's
at
not
all.
worth looking into that
All right,
much.
if
She
you-
died.
All right.
She drank Lysol.
A few members of John Ashley's gang still remain, though,
Okay.
although they were eventually murdered,
Of course they were
captured,
Or
or fled the
fled.
state within a few years. So,
Mhm.
right, only $32,000 of the gang's fortune was ever recovered.
Okay.
It was found only with the help of ex-gang member Joe Tracy.
Anybody with the name Tracy in their first or last name
Right.
is not to be
Or
trusted.
Joe.
So there
Or-
we go.
or Joe.
Or Joe.
Right.
Right.
It
Well, I don't know.
reported-
His daddy's name was Joe, so he was pretty trusted until he got
was
murdered.
pretty trusted, right? You can call him Joe, but if they don't like being called Joseph, then you got a problem, right? Don't call me Joseph.
Don't call me Joseph.
Whoa, you just want me called Joe? I don't think we can resume. I don't
Call
think-
me-
I
call
don't think
me-
we can resume.
Call me Miscellaneous Joe.
It reported $110,000 and other Everglades stashes have never been reported as found.
Okay, so none of the other Everglades stashes that are around that are reported to be around there have never been found.
Never been
and
found.
110,000 that was reported to be stashed somewhere has never been found.
Right, never been found.
Well, Ashley was buried in a family cemetery, which is called the Little Ashley Cemetery outside Gomez, where the Ashley family home once stood.
So it's like their own little fucking...
It's their own little plot.
Man.
6 members of the Ashley clan were buried there, all having died a violent death.
All right,
with the exception of an infant grandchild.
Of course.
Well, the cemetery eventually became a part of an exclusive residential neighborhood called Mariner Sands, and it is rumored that some unrecovered loot is buried somewhere on this property.
Obviously there is.
A state historical marker was placed at Sebastian Inlet, but disappeared when a new bridge was built over the river. So they were erasing John Ashley from the old record books over there, huh?
And they're trying to...
well, in popular culture...
John Ashley and his gang were portrayed by James Carlos Blake in the 2000 historical novel Red Grass River, a legend. And it was also the winner of the 1999 Chautauqua South Book Award, a winner, and a 2013 winner of the French Grand Prix du Roman Noir Étranger.
Well, John Ashley and Laura Updegrove were the subject of the 1973 film Little Laura and Big John, starring Fabian and Karen Black.
Ain't that fantastic?
Don't know what it is, but Little Laura and Big John could be a movie to check out. You never know.
John Ashley and his gang were also portrayed in 2006 novel Queen of the Everglades.
Okay.
Robert Blake was the writer of that.
Well, the Ashley gang has also now been recognized by Florida brewery Big Top Brewing Company. Isn't that like a theme? Didn't one of the other guys that we, a couple of them, they have brewing.
Right.
Well, the brewery follows historical figures and places in Florida and has named their Imperial IPA the Ashley Gang Outlaw Imperial IPA.
Why would you not, right?
Right. That's good.
The Ashley Gang is a folk Americana acoustic rock band based in Sebastian, Florida.
Okay.
It is named after the gang, and its original songs include...
What, you guessed it.
You guessed it. The Ashley Gang.
And that's going to do it for the Ashley Gang / John Ashley. Not entirely a bootlegger rum runner, but he did dabble in that for a couple years, so that qualifies in our story of Prohibition, guys.
And it was in the same time frame.
Because if you guys noted what we said,
same time frame.
He literally transformed South Florida and the bootlegging and rum runners.
Yeah.
They literally had to make up new routes just to avoid his gang, because that's how fucking
pay him money,
because that's how scared of him they're. So I think they had a pretty big impact in the couple years that he was with
I'll
the
say John
Prohibition.
Ashley was the man,
but
he was the king of the Everglades. I mean, that's how he got the name.
King of the Everglades.
That's how he got the fucking name.
How
you get the name King of Everglades?
He self-appointed himself that.
Yeah, but everybody said it was.
But if there's ever a self-appointed nickname, it's that one that he just self-appointed himself.
I'm pretty sure if anybody asked who was the King of Everglades, it would have been John Ashley.
Like I said at the beginning of this episode, this legitimately reminded me of a deep in the Wild West story.
Right.
Bank robberies, hunted down by sheriffs, street fights, shootouts in the middle of the street with people getting killed, shootouts in the hideouts that they're in. I mean, come on, dude. There's no other Wild West.
Well,
this has got to be like the Wild West of the 1920s.
It was Wild West mixed with the New Age mob
era,
fights, right? The mob fights in the fucking in the warehouse and shit.
Right.
Yeah, it's greatness. I loved every minute of it.
It's good stuff, and the fact that when we said in the beginning that he is often compared to Jesse James, which is legit.
I would
Jesse
say.
James escaped from jail just like John Ashley did multiple times.
There's no love story here.
Well,
we didn't get the love story.
Who's Jesse James' love story?
His bitch.
He was with the one girl that up the Grove.
It's true.
John Ashley was.
Right, but not really.
So I mean, he had a love story. I mean, you got to have
a little bit.
Either or. He was the 1920s Jesse James for sure.
I would say.
Which this whole episode lived up to him being compared to Jesse James, because I will give him that.
It worked out.
And he wasn't, unlike Jesse James though, he wasn't shot trying to fix a picture on his wall by one of his fellow partners. But
that's what happened back then.
What are you gonna do?
Trustworthy.
But yeah, this was like a Wild West-esque Prohibition story.
I would say.
What a great story. This is probably
I definitely felt the Wild West vibe.
All of the other episodes we've done, it's been about the most known, and everybody's heard this story 100 times. But this is
This
is probably one of the most lesser known and most interesting
you've heard this
stories.
story, I'm gonna call you a liar.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
Unless you actually did hear this story, and then I'll be sorry.
And then I'd have to have proof that you watching or scrolling the internet. Pre June 27th, 2021 when we're recording this right now.
You will not have the evidence. You will not have the evidence.
You won't have it.
And I will call you
sorry.
a liar. Right.
But we'll be back next week. Like I said,
we'll be back.
I'm looking at a list of
prohibition
stuff. I got at least 10 more.
At least.
Not all of them are hour-long episodes worth, but we're gonna have to cram a couple.
We might do
a couple figures in each episode.
Out, we might do 2 in each episode.
That's what I'm saying. But we at least got 5-6 episodes of Prohibition left before we officially get into the 1930s. I know we've been teasing the 1930s, Bonnie and Clyde and Babyface Nails and all those bank robbers and all that stuff. We've been teasing it for a long time, but we just stumbled into all this and. We got a lot. We got a few more episodes of Prohibition coming up. So next week, we
can't call ourselves Outlaws and Gunslingers podcast
if we're not covering it all.
If we don't count,
I think next week we might cover the Purple Gang, which is a popular Detroit gang in the 1920s, which dabbled in Prohibition as well.
They dabbled in it.
Yeah, they dabbled in it. But we'll be back probably next week for the Purple Gang, and this is the first time you guys are hearing this since our new podcast has dropped. Over on formerly the Mouth of Michiganders. We are now known as the Bang and Dang Show.
Bang and Dang Show. Nothing is anything that's ever happened before this is obsolete for us.
Well, anything that's ever happened before this, we've done. We tried to be stupid and break it up in 6 different episodes or 6 different series on the same feed.
Trying to say everything happened before. This is done. This is
new.
It's
obsolete, but
this is new.
In the Bang and Dang Show, we cover the latest in news, sports, politics,
what else?
Music, movies,
anything
and everything that's happening
whatever
in
we
the world
think
today.
Whatever we think.
And we give our politically incorrect and highly offensive thoughts.
Highly offensive.
And sports. We cover sports. We cover politics.
We cover
news,
characters. We're
news of the world, all that good stuff. That's the new Bang and Dang Show, formerly the Mouth of Michiganders over there, and the Monday Night Watchlong is its all new separate podcast.
All you have to do is type in Monday Night Watchlong.
The Monday Night Watchlong
on Google or whatever iPhone. What do I got?
Wherever you get your podcast,
type in Monday Night Watchlong.
The Monday Night Watchlong.
That's all you have to do.
And if you guys already know what the Monday Night Watchlong is, and we're separating things over there. So the Bang and Dang Show, our second show, will be out later this week. This coming up Friday with the latest in news, politics, sports, everything that happens. There's a lot of stuff that happened in sports since
I want to get into it right now, but I can't.
Well, we'll be back next week with the Outlaws and Gunslingers with
Bang Dang!